Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Bodio Papula. With me, I have Kaylie Horowitz.
Hello.
And Andy Gibby Gibson.
That's my, I don't have a party horn on me or anything, but I wanted to celebrate because we have big news.
Do we?
Yeah, Kaylie graduated from grad school.
Oh, yeah, Kaylie
that's kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Kaylie has a master's degree, like, officially this time.
She is the master of the universe.
As I drown in my tea.
The master of the theatrical universe, so maybe not quite as powerful as, you know, He-Man, but pretty good.
Pretty close.
Pretty good.
It's a close second.
How do you feel to be finally done with school, like, permanently this time?
Well, that's the thing. I may or may not be. I mean, nothing's in the works yet, but having a master's is great because in some places you can just, like, teach and people go, yeah, you know what you're talking about. But I have this great idea and maybe dream, I guess. Who has dreams anymore these days? I don't know.
Not me.
I don't know.
The thought of being the fun acting professor in college at some point. But to do that, you need a terminal degree. And for the arts, that is either getting a PhD, which after watching my partner's experience, I go, no, I know this is not for me. Or an MFA, which is a Master of Fine Arts, and that qualifies as a terminal degree for arts and humanities if your program has that. So
I don't like that the phrase is called or a terminal degree because that makes it sound like a terminal illness.
Exactly.
And I'm like, are you sure that's what you want?
Education is a terminal illness, Bo.
It has to be at this point, right?
I'm pretty sure, like, another degree in their household is going to kill him, so maybe it's probably a fitting thing.
Yeah.
I saw these things that all those papers did to you.
God.
This poor girl. She been through it, y'all.
MFA would be great because that is much more, at least currently, in the market. A BFA is great to help you understand more about the basics of working in, like, professional contemporary theater, and then depending on your program, where you are in the country, maybe you get more of a specified, like, kind of style or track or school of thought, or if you're a musical theater BFA, you just go to boot camp for 4 years, and you're not a real person anymore. You're just a musical theater robot. And some people make that work really well for them, and others have a mental breakdown.
No, nobody in musical theater is happy. Don't let them lie.
Hey, Lin Manuel is very happy.
I don't think he is. I think
he was
it's a lie.
writer and a composer.
He doesn't count. We don't count him. All I'm saying is that's the most obnoxiously happy man I've seen
fair.
of the last 10 years.
It's also the man who's not actively auditioning for things that he hasn't already written, so there's a reason.
Just cast yourself as the lead role, kids.
Exactly. Like, write your own thing and cast yourself. That's the secret to happiness in musical theater.
I'm Lin Manuel Miranda, and I wrote Hamilton, and I am auditioning for the part of Alexander Hamilton. Can I bring in my snippet of Hamilton to audition for Hamilton?
I can't believe I got the lead role. Who would have ever seen this happening?
Hashtag blessed. Hashtag born in New York.
No! I'm just imagining, like, the energy of, like, a middle schooler at summer camp that's, like, really wanting to do a musical as, like, the activity, like, the free activity of the session, the season, and, like, nobody else wants to really do it with them. So they're like, I can make a show work by myself, I swear.
Can you imagine Lin Manuel, like being a little tickled that he has to audition for, like, a Broadway show, and they cast him as one of, like, the background actors as, like, tree number 4.
I think that's how we get negative Lin Manuel. We put him in a Disney movie, and it's like, yeah, you're unnamed guy number 3.
Ooh.
Min Lanuel.
Min Lanuel, yeah. Mid Lanuel.
Oh, and he starts, like, his Twitter slowly starts changing, and it just becomes, like, a goth kid from, like, 1987.
This is the dark timeline.
Homie buys a black hoodie, and we're all like, uh-oh.
We know that it's the opposite of usual because instead of having a goatee like the dark timeline usually is, he shaves it.
No.
Just goes clean. Goes mustache only.
Oh, yeah, actually, I think that would be, because
Miranda.
sometimes he does do clean shaven, but I think mustache only would be much more of the, like, we're in our villain era.
This is how we know shit's fucked up in the timeline. Somebody done goofed. They should have made him the lead instead of, like, the mayor, who only has 2 lines in this show.
I like that your mayor has, again, this is an
Suspenders?
audio medium. Yeah, Gibby pantomimed suspenders the second he said the word mayor.
Look, every mayor in every theatrical, like, musical production ever has suspenders. It's the rule.
Right,
So it's just automatic where it's
that's
like...
the Greek theater mask, right? You see a guy in suspenders, it's like, yeah, that's a politician.
He doesn't even have a mask. It's just suspenders.
Well, no, but that's the thing. It is exactly. It's the character archetypal mask. It's just suspenders. You don't even need, like, if you don't have money in your budget for, like, a nice jacket for this guy to wear, just suspenders.
What if he, like, fucking, like, starts ad-libbing a rap, like, in the middle of this, just like, I've got my suspenders, suspend your disbelief.
Whoa.
It's like, Lin,
Just, like,
Lin,
keeps
you have
going on.
one line. You say,
Lin,
"Welcome to
there's no
Cleveland."
music. Nothing. Nobody knows what's happening
This
now.
is a dramatic piece. You're coming in during the
Dude.
murder.
This is our town. This shit happens in 1906.
Yeah, but
Read
it
the
just felt
room.
like if I put a little bit of hip hop in there, it would really liven it up.
Lin, this is the fucking Crucible. What are you doing?
Okay, I would actually pay to see that. I would absolutely love to see any amount of life try to be put into the Crucible that way. My God.
I think he actually did an SNL skit about being at a Crucible cast party.
It's a Crucible cast party.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there
No,
it is.
the Theater Kid SNL series. Yes. God,
Yes.
I love their videos. I
I
love
like
those.
that they get it.
And I love the Onions. It keeps circulating every couple months or so, or like once a summer or something like that. This article pops back up on their feed that's like, old oversized trench coat makes appearance again in or makes 30-second consecutive appeance in the community theater season or something
Damn.
like that, and
Respect
it just
to our
gets
veterans.
me every time.
I'm gonna tell this community theater story before we get into our main topic
I feel like that's fitting.
because it's very funny and it kind of matches our topic today.
Good, good.
So my last community theater show was Spam-A-Lot, which for those who aren't aware, it's the
Excellent.
musical adaptation of Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
And you
Brilliant
did so
show.
good. I went and saw that
Did
show.
you see that? Fuck,
Yes, I
forgot about
did.
that.
Me and Ian were there.
I forgot. Yeah, it's been a few years, but
So what happened?
yeah. So I now I'm embarrassed because
Because I was
Kaylie knows
there?
what I'm talking about. Yeah. I played Sir Lancelot, and he's not super gay in that show, but there is his quote coming out.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that song is super gay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's
very.
a giant rainbow flag that like falls from the fly space
Yeah.
in some productions I've seen.
So they were, fucking hell. So I had to have these super tight golden panties effectively on
Oh, yeah.
with
I
like a
remember
mesh
the
top.
booty shorts.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Dude,
That's
they
why
were,
you've never done community theater
yeah,
again.
this is why I don't do musicals anymore. No, but it was so bad that like what we ended up using was actually version 2. The version 1 was much smaller, and the costume designer was like, "Yeah, we got to get you a cod piece, homie. You are presenting." It's like it's not my fault.
When the cod piece is the more like humble and conservative
Right.
option.
Yeah, you're going hard in the paint at Auburn, Alabama Community Theater. Yeah, a lot of community folks saw me in that.
All of your high school theater and band
A
teachers.
lot of community folks saw me. in
Again,
that.
that's why he can't show his face there anymore.
But 2 things happened.
Yeah.
I learned who were the most uncomfortable with their sexuality dads because there were a lot of men who shook my hand who couldn't look me in the face after that. And there was an older gentleman who got into the show right before we started, just because we needed more bodies.
Yeah.
And he had not seen the show all the way through. Like, he wasn't around for dress, he wasn't around for tech or anything.
Oh God.
Yeah. And he saw me running around backstage in the gold booty shorts.
The old G's.
Yeah, and he pulled me aside like during one of the last shows, and he was like, "Son, I got to be honest with you. I thought that was just your underwear." I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Yeah, I just thought you were really prideful in your body." I'm like, "I don't think I'd ever be that prideful, sir."
Sorry, all I'm thinking about right now is a dad trying to shake your hand after it and going, "Hey, you did a great job, Bodio."
No,
Bodio, sorry, but
it was just a lot of guys who like shake my hand. Good job, son.
Good
And they're looking at the floor, and I'm like, okay, you are not cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
you did great.
Go home and think about some things, friend.
Yeah, you got.
Speaking of really, 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 really tight underwear.
Jesus. It's almost Pride Month. Will this be out during Pride Month?
Yeah.
It'll be like a couple days before.
It'll be a couple days before. It's
We're
almost Pride
starting
Month, y'all.
early.
We're starting it early. God damn it.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Happy Pride Month. So we decided to go back into a little overanalysis, right?
Yeah.
Gibby put his film hat on, and he was like, "Let's watch Birdcage."
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're going to talk about the Birdcage.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and
96 movie starring kind of a bunch of like really good actors, man.
Kind of.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. A very good cast.
We got Nathan Lane, Robin Williams, Hank Azaria, Gene Hackman, Diane Wiest, fucking like holy shit.
Yeah. And that's not even including like Callista Flockhart.
Yeah.
Like, when those people are like your B-level stars in it, you got a good cast up in here.
Right.
For those of you who aren't in the know, it is a movie based on a French farce called La Cage aux Folles.
La Cage aux Folles.
La Cage aux Folles.
Yep, there you go. Gotten one.
However you say it. Anyways, it's all about the owner of a drag club in Miami in this version, hence all our jokes about very tight underwear because all the extras are wearing really...
There's a lot of booty in this movie that I was not mentally prepared for.
It's about the owner of a drag club and his husband, who is the star performer. The owner of the club's son is getting married and is worried that the father of the bride-to-be will not accept their family because he is a conservative senator from Ohio, and thus they have to try to figure out a way as to present themselves in a palatable fashion to a conservative senator from Ohio, played by Gene Hackman, the guy from Hoosiers. Good luck, pal.
I also want to put out that Gibby and I are cis men, so we don't want to talk about the cultural impact of this movie because, frankly, at least 2 out of 3 of us don't really have the right to. So we just want to talk about it as a movie as opposed to being like, this is, you know.
I will just say this real quick. This is for a lot of people, you know, when this movie came out, it was their first experience with drag or maybe even a mainstream gay movie. And also it was on a budget of about $30 million and it made $185 million worldwide. That's it. That's all I'm going to say as the straight man watching this movie right here.
I thought it was very funny that Gibby was like, "Oh, dude, we should watch this movie. I love it." And of course, it opens with Gibby's favorite thing, drag.
I love it. And like I like that this is a movie where we get to see like a lot of different angles of drag. Like our more traditional that we think of it, you know, with men playing the like cultural idea of a woman. You know,
Mhm.
if your cultural idea of a woman is a big brassy gal from Broadway in 1940,
Yeah.
but also like you get to see a lot of diversity in it, as well as drag being used in the third act as like a plot device,
Mhm.
as I don't want to say as deception, but because it's different than another Robin Williams feature with Mrs. Doubtfire's drag being used as a deception, and we can
Yeah.
get into that like
Mhm.
later and everything. But I think almost everything in this movie is done in like a tasteful way,
Yeah.
and just as a general summation, I think it's impressive that almost 30 years later, this movie still can feel like fresh and it can still
Yes.
feel
Mm.
timely and relevant, especially when Tennessee and Florida and Arkansas are fucking around and the good citizens of those states are
Mhm.
unfortunately finding out.
Yeah. I will say though, from like the research that I've done for like just again like where does this movie sit culturally today, since it is
Yeah.
just about as old as some of us, that there is actually a surprising amount of people that still go like, yeah, like it's partly like movie of its time to some degree. However,
Mhm.
For sure.
the pros outweigh the cons still. Like there's some things that's like we've changed the way that we would like to use this kind of language or the
Yeah.
kinds of binary we're making here, but on the whole, the characters that these things like the cons touch, they are also very empowered and they are using the things that make them different as very empowering tools to solve problems and move the story forward.
Mm.
And they are the most like human, empathetic characters within the entire plot.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Oh.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about plot first? Because I feel like this movie's harder to approach.
Yeah.
Just because of its subject matter, it's harder to approach
Yeah.
than we usually, because we're usually like plot structure, themes, characters, right? Well, we already know what the theme is, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to say about plot structure, and I think for this movie specifically, at least for me, I can't talk about plot structure without talking about characters. So yeah, so this might be
Yeah.
a lot more streamlined of a conversation than we usually have.
Right. It all kind of like flows into everything because it's hard to talk about like the flow of the movie, because I know that you could line this up as, you know, your first act, second act, third act, but the pacing of the movie is driven by the characters and the choices that they make. It feels different. Like when I watched this movie, this was the first time I watched it in a couple years, and I forgot that like a lot of the tension and like the dinner party, like the climactic dinner party that happens, like doesn't really happen until like well into the third act.
Until the movie's almost over.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not treated as dramatically as I remember, because so much of the movie is just getting to the dinner party and like trying to pull off the stunt. And when you have Armand, played by Robin Williams, and
Albert.
you have Albert played by Nathan Lane, there's a lot of like push and pull that happens with them as characters that controls the pacing of it. Like you'll have Armand say something and Albert runs out dramatically, having a crisis as our boy does, that like pauses it for a more like character moment rather than keeping the plot.
And I think
like,
that's kind
chugging.
of a symptom of most of the main characters in this movie, or most of the main actors, I should say, are character actors as opposed to like traditional. Like Nathan Lane is a character actor, Robin Williams is a character actor, Christine Baranski is a character actor, Hank Azaria is a character actor, right?
And what a character he is.
What a character he fucking is. but
And Gene Hackman's Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
just
He's just
himself.
playing himself. No, got it.
Yeah, no,
He's
I
here for
assume
the
he's
dads
cool.
in the audience.
Yep.
And I don't think the movie is lesser for that, right? I don't want it to sound like that. I do think it makes the pacing, well, to Gibby's point exactly right. It makes the pacing of this movie a little less traditional than other movies, because most of
For
the
certain.
most of the moments are these people playing their characters and being
Yeah.
goofy in their own, in a subtle, not a subtle goofy. Robin Williams is a subtle goofy. Nobody else is.
Yeah.
Christine Baranski is a pretty subtle goofy.
Yeah.
Nathan Lane and Hank Azaria, absolutely not.
No, God, no. No,
You're
it
saying,
kind of
Kaylie?
reminds me a little bit of like Shakespeare or Moliere in some ways,
Yeah.
where we move things forward, things do happen, but there's a reason that sometimes we have plays that are 4 or 5 acts. We're
Yeah.
eating up a lot of our time because we're giving these characters opportunities to talk with one another, whether that's in a dramatic moment of intention reveal and learning something about the characters based on their decisions, or it's comedy and we're getting, oh fuck, this thing, how do we figure out this thing, let's try 2 different solutions that don't work, and then wow, we should have thought of this thing instead. Like, but we're still learning things about them, we're getting this opportunity to see how they operate, because especially for Birdcage, it's that like, well, things don't happen until 6 o'clock tonight, so what do we do all day? You can only move time so fast. Like, what do we do in all that time other than kind of bounce around each other in a, this is gonna work, oh, this isn't gonna work, oh no, this is going wrong, how do we change this then? And what does that reveal about everybody as the clock ticks down?
Yeah. But I almost feel like some of the like strongest parts of the movie are when things like pause and we just have like 2 characters sitting somewhere and either talking or goofing off or something. Like my 2 favorite scenes in the movie are when they're both with Armand and Albert. One of them's when they're at the restaurant and Armand is trying to teach Albert how to present himself as masculine when he is like the most feminine man that we've probably ever seen on screen before. Like, and they just take their time to like enjoy the gags and to enjoy like the character without having to feel like, all right, this is a montage because we need montages for the audience to understand the plot. And my other favorite is when it's the 2 of them and Armand has insulted Albert and they're sitting on that bench together.
Yeah.
Albert's feeling rejected and they just take like a minute to tell like a sweet detail from like their long-standing relationship. Like it's those character moments that like make me feel more comfortable with the structure of this movie.
But those are the only ones.
Yeah. well, I would say that like Armand and his the mother of his child counts as a moment.
Yeah, because we do
Catherine,
spend
yeah.
a lot of time there with Catherine when it could just be so easy for us to get that, hey, here's the situation, can you do this? But we get that time of them to connect and see that they still have a respect for one another, like maybe a different kind of love than just a like romantic or a sexual, but like there is a love, there's still feelings between them that are like amicable, and clearly we can see that there's not beef here. There was a leave, like a mutual leaving and respect for one another, which is usually not often how those kind of things go. Usually if we're dealing with characters that have been divorced, somebody is bitter as fuck.
And not concerned or not connected parent, absent parent. that's
Yeah,
what I'm
absent
looking
parent
for.
as well.
Yeah.
Usually that person's presented, and which is something interesting this movie did. Usually that person's presented as they're absent because they were bad.
Yeah.
But for this movie, it's no, she was absent because he's gay and she's not. So it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a fling and it didn't work out, right?
She has a career, like she has like direct goals, and like motherhood's not part of that. Like I think that's just such a mature way to look at things.
Yeah.
Like from a movie's like character perspective. I just think that that's something that's rare in
It is.
film, especially because There's almost always somebody that's got to be like the bad guy in a familial situation like that.
Well,
Well,
we have those.
let's talk about the senator.
Yeah, Senator Kevin
Mi-
Kaylie
Mrs. the-
and
Mrs. the
Louise
Senator.
Keeley.
Mrs. the Senator.
Okay.
Yeah, let's chit chat.
Yeah, so I'm gonna repeat this over and over again.
Yeah.
Here's why I don't like this movie. Gasp.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Gasp.
Gasp.
So, a lot of every character in this movie is either a caricature, B, a liar, C, a fool, or D, some combination of the three. Right.
Yeah, I can see
And
that.
that makes it for what I value in a movie, right? Because I don't want to make it sound
Yeah.
like this is a bad movie. We're back at a situation where I'm like, I don't like this thing. That doesn't mean it's not good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't value that in storytelling. I don't value those kinds of characters. And
Right.
if every character is that kind of thing, it makes it hard for me to sit back and enjoy it. Obviously, the Keeleys are all three of those things turned to the extremes because they're not the bad guys, but they're the antagonist, right?
Yeah.
Um,
They're the obstacle.
yes.
They're an obstacle. There's an interpretation that I've actually kind of like. I'm not sure if I completely dive in with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I finish your thought. I agree with you though. Like they
No,
are
my
an
thought- my
obstacle
thought
to
is done.
overcome. Oh,
My
okay.
thought is finished.
I thought there was more.
No, I just don't like this movie, and that's why I don't like the characters.
One of the things that I read is a take on or an interpretation on where are our antagonists in this movie. It's actually more than anything, it's not necessarily that the senator and his wife are antagonists. Like they are a
Mhm.
thing to overcome to achieve the goal of what is I
Marriage.
keep forgetting his name. Zan?
Val.
Val.
Val and Barbara.
Like, it starts
are
with
the
a Z. Yes.
It doesn't. It starts with
it
a V.
doesn't. It's a V. No, exactly. Like they are the thing that they have to overcome for them to get married.
Mhm.
But arguably, the antagonists to some degree are Val and Armand because they are grappling with performing masculinity in a way that it becomes toxic and it makes them feel shameful. It makes them have to hide part of themselves and demean others to achieve that goal. That it's not necessary. Like there are traces of that in the senator, and we see how that's like antagonizing to his family. Like his wife has a breakdown at the end and just goes, "Why can't I be a favorite?" And I'm like, "Oh no!" Like I feel so bad for her. But it's arguably like there's your antagonists through this. It's your characters that are trying to save face by overstepping what that means as far as being a man, being masculine. Because even though Armand like talks all this stuff with Albert at the diner about like how like put
He
your
doesn't-
pinkies down,
yeah, he doesn't
walk
know
this way.
either, right?
Exactly. As soon as he confronts the dad, like he is also like having to like make all these adjustments and redirect himself and sweating profusely.
I would ask to that point then, wouldn't the antagonist be, as opposed to Val and Armand, Val and Barbara? Because they're the biggest liars.
I think so. No,
in
I
the
think there's an
movie.
argument because
Yeah.
watching this, I'm just like, you dumb fucking kids. Like, God, I understand there's that like level of, yeah, no, if me being in that situation, at like as Barbara, it's that like, I understand why we're trying to save face. Like, I could get that logic. But at the same time, there's a little bit of a like, not Romeo and Juliet, but the next adjacent thing to that, where we're young kids in love and we're not thinking and we're just talking out of our ass, and now we're making it difficult for everybody to get through this next
I want
encounter.
to talk about these two, not for a long time, because I don't think there's a lot
Yeah.
to say, unless we find out there is.
Correct.
But I do think I'm sitting there through the movie, and I'm thinking, it's like, why is it a point that these two are so young, right?
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, she's not 19, and she says we've been having sex for a year. That's
Yeah.
statutory.
Yikes.
I just want to put that out there. That's in the first 10 minutes of the movie, and I'm like, uh-oh. But
Yeah, that's that I was just like, that didn't.
yeah,
age well.
no. Age, that wasn't legal in 96, bud.
well, here's the quick math, because I did want to
Uh-huh.
like at least breeze by this, where it was just like, currently they're 18 and they
18
are
and 20.
20.
Mhm.
Yes. They've been going to school for at least a
They've
year.
been dating
which,
for
what
over a year.
fucking 17-year-old is going to
College,
like,
some do, if you graduate early.
Yeah.
I guess you're senator's kid. You can
I was
get
gonna
in
say
there.
exactly.
Fine.
Senator's
we'll give
kid,
that a
you've got the
pass.
letters of
I'm
credentials,
gonna say,
all that
I
jazz.
took basic math with a few 17-year-olds in college.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
you weren't in like the dorm rooms with them.
I
or
didn't live
anything,
on
right?
campus, so I can't speak on
That's
that.
right. Anyways, like they were 17 and 19 when presumably they started hooking
Or maybe
up,
even 16 and 18, which makes it worse.
which is just like it comes into the point where if your character has to say, "Hey, man, according to state law, this is legal," doesn't make me like you as a
Right.
character.
Transformers 4 problem. When a guy breaks out the law, I'm like, this is a monster. This person is an animal. Anyway,
Yeah, get the Decepticons to like punch this guy off of the planet, out of the
Yeah,
stratosphere.
no, like the whole first encounter that Armand has with Val, and like they're having that argument about like redoing the space, and he walks out going, "It took me 20 years to figure out who I am, and I'm not going back." Like, I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
And then he does.
Val, you stupid ass dumb kid. Like, I get that your girlfriend started just talking out of her ass, like just trying to cover her because she didn't know what to say in front of her parents. But my God, you two didn't make any kind of plan.
to get to where I'm going, I think the reason they made them so young was to justify those actions, right? Was
Sure.
to justify them being such vehement liars and why they were so willing
Yeah.
to lie. But
Yeah.
for me, that doesn't feel like the right justification. It's like they could have easily have both been 22 and 20 or 24 and 27 or whatever.
Yeah.
and they
still
still
acted
could have
the
said like,
same
"You're too
way."
young."
Right. Like
sure.
it seems that that's an unnecessary detail that they really, 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 really harp on for the movie for a justification. I'm like,
I can't believe they made me like agree with Senator Kaylie when she's like, "We've been sleeping with each other for a year," and he's like, "Oh
He's
God."
like, I
Yeah,
agree.
no, like-
He's like, uh
But Daddy, I love him. No.
oh.
Again, you know it's over when you start agreeing with the parents. But anyways,
I think we have to as well, like for a lot of this, and with a lot of the deceit and a lot of the lying, we do have to look at it from the context of the time. Because,
Absolutely.
you know, as much like if they made this film today, there would still be that same, you know, there would still be that same conflict with having like a conservative senator who's
Yeah.
on the moral brigade like subcommittee
Yeah.
for whatever
coalition,
doesn't
something,
feel
something.
probably would say no immediately when he's introduced to the two misters of the house and
Mhm.
everything. Like that tension could still exist, but the tension of it being like a movie made in the 90s, like during like
Satanic
Don't
Panic
Ask-
and Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Yeah.
Don't
for
Ask,
sure.
Don't Tell, which they mention in the movie, like heightens it even more. For these people, they have been like living with the ideal that the best that they're ever going to get is a palimony agreement, which the name of that always makes me laugh because it's like pal.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys were just friends, right?
Yep.
You historically you were just
And they
friends.
were roommates.
like Alexander
Hamilton?
No.
No,
The Great.
Manuel,
The
get outta
Great.
here.
I was gonna say Alexander the Great and his pal,
His homie, his
Like,
friendo.
That's a stupid thing. It just made me laugh.
Mhm.
Anyways, for the context of the time of people like not knowing if they would ever have like the same legal protections
Mhm.
and like it being even like more taboo, like it heightens the necessity that the characters feel, especially as young impulsive people, to try to pull off this, deceitful stunt, because it feels necessary just to get the approval. If they can just pull off this one thing,
Right.
that'll be it. They definitely won't have another Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
and
they won't have to ever handle this again.
We won't have any Christmases that we have to see each other.
Nope.
It's just one night. It's like, huh?
And it'll be totally fine. Like, don't worry about Albert's feelings or
Right.
anything.
Right.
Let's just bring in the lady who hasn't been a parent for 20
Right.
years.
And that's why, and again, this is where I go on. The Kaylies are stupid to the point of incomprehension, right? I realized that when you like we said, you spend the whole movie getting to the dinner, right?
Mhm.
Like that's where we get back to story or plot or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like we're right before it. I'm like, all right, cool. So there'll be like 15 minutes left of the movie, and then we're done. And there's 45 minutes left,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, oh God, we're gonna be here for a minute. We land into this style of comedy where it's funny because it's embarrassing. It's kind of like The Office, right?
Yeah.
Um,
There's a bit of cringe, especially in the early part of the dinner.
It's all cringe. It's all cringe. It's all tense and like,
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
and again, I don't value that. That's why I've never sat down to actually
Right.
watch The Office, right?
Sure.
Fair.
I don't value
Fair.
that kind of comedy, but I don't like that the Kaylies, even if it's not something immediate, right? Because you have the really weird point up until Albert comes in drag, and it's like, okay, we bring it back, and Albert kind of saves the
Mhm.
day for maybe 15
Yeah.
minutes, and then it
Yeah.
starts to go downhill again because we have to do the liar
Yeah.
revealed moment, right?
Yeah.
But I will say, it's a liar reveal that you can kind of assume is coming. Like,
course.
as more things add up onto this dinner, we're getting the idea that, like, oh God, it's just going to all come
the
tumbling down.
second Val says, "Hey, you guys can't be gay around my girlfriend's parents," it's like, okay, there's going to be a liar reveal,
Absolutely.
and that
yeah.
happens 12
And then, well,
minutes
then we
in,
also,
right?
We also get all these great things with like with the housekeeper, where they're just like, please put some shoes on. I trip when I wear the shoes. And then lo and behold, on the way to the door, man just fucking eats it.
Yeah, some
And
fun
like we
gags,
get all
for sure.
that. We just keep getting all of these things. The soup, the bowls, like it just keeps going.
Yes, that is all funny, but that's my issue. It keeps going.
Yeah.
I don't need that stuff for 45 minutes, right?
It's rooted like in like the nature of a farce.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like they've combined like a French farce with like these undertones of drama as
Mhm.
well. Like which many times in the movie can be kind of an awkward mix of like, where do we find the balance here?
Right.
And I think it really, like you said, takes off when Albert, like after having been excluded for so much of this, like gets to come in and be the hero. And I didn't remember this since I had last watched it, but I just love Albert in drag, like winning over the senator,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
senator having such sympathy of just like, she is a simple lady from
Right.
Grover's Corners. I am trying to protect these kinds of people.
Right.
These are naive, good people.
Like
and
the fact that he connects with her, like
Yeah.
her, like at this outrageous level that Miss Coleman exists. Like I think that's one of the best choices that they could have made in following like what is happening character wise, and like how these arcs should be intertwining that way, for him to just be like head over heels, like, my God, what a delightful, charming woman.
They're dancing to the music of My Fair Lady. like,
Yeah.
in the background. Like I also like that there's like a callback to that with like the ending of the movie, that like when the senator is trying to get when he's trying to avoid the press seeing him like inside of a drag club and everything, they put him in drag, and the focus is less on like, ugh, I'm a man's man in drag, and it's much more on just like, damn it, this dress makes my ass look fat. Why doesn't anybody want to dance with me? Like, I'm glad that they made like those choices with it, and like the moment of like them together with the senator in drag and with Albert like in like a masculine tuxedo and everything,
Yeah.
and like them like coming together to like pull off the stunt there. It's like, I'm not going to say it's like the greatest choices of all time, but I think
They're good
there's
choices.
things
They were good
in the-
deliberate choices.
yeah, they're good things in the ending that prevent it from like faltering in ways that like other movies have.
Yeah.
I will also say that the liar revealed element is more fun for me in this because it happens at like the end of the movie instead of the end of Act 2, and then we play a
Right,
sad
right.
song, and then you have to apologize because they kind of apologize, but not really. Where it's much more just like
It's
senator
apologies,
going,
but then it's
"What's
immediately
happening? What?"
a return of favor. Like, it's that,
Yeah.
okay, yes, we lied, but hey,
Y'all
we think
gotta
we can
get
get you
home.
out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, like a different plot element with the National Enquirer being outside of the door,
mhm.
like makes that moment really short, which I
Mhm.
think is smart, that we don't have to dwell
No.
on anything. That's the worst thing about like liar revealed shit. Fucking Evan Hansen.
Oh, you're just
bullshit.
sitting and stewing in it and being sad when, like, you could have just said something.
Yeah. Versus this is just like, well, you got us.
Again, the only
Wait,
reason
what?
that this happens is that Val is a dumb little like selfish shit, thinking that
Yeah.
he needs mom there, he needs Catherine there, tells her to come, and then the note gets taken. I mean, they don't know that the Enquirer is outside the door. The note on the door gets taken, but had he not done that in the first place, she would not
The
be
note was
there.
Armand's idea.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like it's him
Right.
trying to patch a situation that his son is made worse in the moment, and he tries to fix it, and it's just gonna make more things worse.
I think I want to
But
use that
yeah.
as a transition to talk about Armand as well, because Armand's,
Yeah.
again, I go back to talking about liars. Armand's kind of a liar from the onset, and it's very straight. I think number one, where we set that pace is when Albert at the very front of the movie is talking about, oh, I don't drink white wine, you don't drink white wine. There was white wine in the fridge.
yeah,
What's going
yeah,
on?
yeah,
And
yeah.
Albert doesn't, or Armand just doesn't tell him. It's like, yeah, Val's coming home, and Val only drinks
Yeah.
white wine. Also underage drinking, but we're gonna ignore that because that does happen.
It's 20.
It's 20. He's fine.
Who cares?
Source material came from an older French play where you were
Yeah,
probably drinking by the time you were 10,
by like
11.
yeah, like 12. But I found it not really justifiable because the movie tries to make Armand not out to be the bad guy, which I don't think
Yeah.
he is, but Albert's the only person who's honest in this movie.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And
Albert wears his heart on his sleeves.
yeah, and Armand kind of lies just for, at the beginning, it's just for the sake of lying, and I think they do that
Yeah.
so that it's justifiable when he keeps going on with these lies on top of lies on top of lies. It's like, yeah, he's a liar. But I want to hear what y'all have to say.
He was requested by
about
his
that.
son to like, he's like, Val's like, I'm coming home, I don't want anyone to know that I'm
Right.
here. And so he's willing to come across as a jerk to the people that he's close to protect his son. Like we see that he is at that level of dedication. But exactly, it then makes it difficult in some moments because like he is partners with Albert. Like they are ride or die, like married
Like,
for all intents and purposes.
straight
and
up-
he's
they straight up
being
say
a
Albert
dick to
is-
him.
Yeah, they straight up say Albert is Val's mother in the movie,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, then why are we doing this? There's a throwaway
Stop
line.
gaslighting your wife.
Yeah, there's a throwaway line where Albert says, "Oh, I know you're protective of your son and you just want to keep him to yourself." But at no point do we see Armand trying to keep protective. Yes, because that's why he's willing to go through all this stuff, is because he really
Yeah.
cares about his son. But wanting to keep him to himself, no.
Yeah.
We don't see any of that. So it feels like it feels unnecessary, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it was hard for me to view past that, because then it's like, okay, you're a liar from the onset, and most of the tension of this movie comes from you lying. And then when we get to the main part of the plot, it's you lying along with your son who is asking you to lie. Right. Which goes back to Kaylie's original point. Hey, maybe Armand and Val are the antagonists. I would still argue Val and Barbara if it's not going to be the Kaylies.
I know. It's the fact that Barbara kind of like doesn't get a lot of agency in this. Like,
that's
she
also
kicks
true.
things off because she doesn't know how to cover, and so she just says things to keep her parents from asking questions, but of course they have more questions.
Yeah.
But other than that, she's trapped in the car with them for an entire day on the way down to South Beach. And when she's there, she can't really do anything much at this dinner because it's all on Val and Armand.
Yeah, she's 18 and, you know, she's a legal adult and she can do what she wants, but she's got the influence of, like, one of the most prominent senators in America being her father. And, like, she's probably been raised with elements of, like, reputation and, like, the court of public opinion and everything. And when you're in yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, to the point of her not having agency. That's what I'm
it's
saying.
that everyone has expectations for me, but...
That may be the subtext, but I feel like you need to somehow put that out there.
Sure.
I don't think Val and Barbara ever have a scene together.
No, they don't.
And it's super weird since they're the main. They're
like,
the main.
you're getting married.
Yeah, and we never see them
proposed
just
to her.
alone.
You are madly in love with her. That you would make your dads change their entire identity to please your
didn't even
in-laws.
think about
Yeah,
that.
and we never see them just alone together.
I 100% agree with you there. Like,
Except
I
in
was
the wedding.
waiting for that moment of, like, y'all aren't gonna have a heart-to-heart. Like, you're not gonna, like, anything. No,
They barely interact with each other at the dinner.
Yeah.
It's like their love's a plot device. Which,
It
Exactly.
is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think something that we touched on that I do want to talk about a little bit, just because I think it's unique to this movie and we don't get to see it all that often, is we do get to see, you know, the romance and the history and the intimacy of two older gay men.
Yeah.
Like, like we don't see nearly as much focus in, you know, Hollywood on either romance.
You should have made them
with,
kiss.
like, old
Make men kiss, you bastards, you cowards.
They were boys and they were kissing.
Make them kiss.
We don't see a lot of either romance between, like, older partners or between like gay partners. So to see it between, like, older gay men, especially in the time in the fallout of the HIV/AIDS crisis, where an entire generation of those men are not with us at all, I think is cool and important and good. And I think that it's what I really like about it is it shows a lot of the depth and the ups and downs of a relationship like that, because there's a great quote in, of course we're bringing up the fucking Venture Brothers because me and Bo are in the same virtual room together,
Venture.
but our favorite video essay about the Venture Brothers by Steak Bentley, yeah, has a great quote about, like, the people that you love that you can't stand to be around. Like, when you've been with somebody for, 20, 30 years, and you know everything that they do, and you know every way they're going to react to something, or how they're going to act, or how they can't keep a secret or anything. Like, there's a lot of, like, tension there, but there's a lot of love there as well. Like, there's a lot of history of, like, that roller coaster of romance. And I think that's something that this movie does.
And it's
really
nice
well.
that
And, like,
they're not embarrassed that they're gay. It's that they have to pretend not to be for their son.
yeah.
No, and like, the only reason that Val is this worried is because he knows the kind of man that Barb's dad is. Like, if it was less about, like, oh, like, your parents are just people, but it's this, your dad is on a
crusade
morality
against
coalition
gay people,
against gay people, Jews, Muslims, and any other minority in America. Like, my God, he can't come here.
It's a good thing that doesn't happen anymore, right?
That's not.
Yep. I talk a lot of shit because I just moved to Michigan from Alabama, and now I get to pretend like I'm better.
Now I get to pretend that I'm better than all of you.
Like I have moral superiority, so I can go on Facebook and post about it. And get all of my other liberal neighbors to be like, this was a great post.
Oh.
You showed them.
Oh shit, that got
From
me.
the
Okay.
backwoods of Michigan. But that's
Yeah.
fine because it's north of the Mason-Dixon line, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, as soon as you cross the Mason-Dixon line, just a feeling of smugness like starts to overwhelm you, where you're just like, it's a good thing I'm not in Alabama
It's
anymore.
a good
given
thing
how,
I'm not a traitor.
Yeah, it's a good thing that's not my problem
God.
anymore. As I move into my ivory tower.
God, no. Get out. Leave.
No.
No, there's something very interesting that, like, kind of on that note, that, like, this movie to me, in some way, like, a lot of the main, themes and feelings, like, about acceptance, about identity, like, what empowerment as, like, somebody of a non-heteronormative background, like, what that looks like and what that means. There's a lot of great timelessness in this movie already on that end. But there's a different kind of timelessness now that it feels like, just because it's now been 30 years and things have rapidly swung in a very different direction, that the things that Keely's lines, you could tell were written to be very extreme because that was the joke of the 90s, are now just normative speech.
Yeah.
Which is still
Very
funny,
scary.
but then terrifying. Exactly. That
Yeah.
it's very odd in some ways how that quality has now become timeless. And
Yeah.
that one's more concerning.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, dude.
And it ain't the ha he. This guy from Ohio
Right.
is so silly because he's so backwards. It's like, no,
That's just
Now we're
how
back.
people talk in the open.
there's no more closed doors stuff going
Yeah.
on at this point. You've like when you have the former president of the United States saying, "I'm elect me and I'm going to take care of the trans problem." Like that's when it's just like, "Oh God, we've made some steps forward, and there are some people that are actively trying to drag through, and pull you back from all of those steps that we've made." You know, like not to turn like a very fun movie into
No.
like a downer, but
No,
it is.
I think to your point, this movie is timely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of the
yeah.
things they were pointing out that were problem 30 years ago are still issues.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's just become like less extreme, and one of the things we noticed, we were like, man, if this were made today, we would not be trying to save this man's ass from the paparazzi. We would be
No, you throw him to
throwing
the
him out to
wolves
fend
and
for
let him-
himself.
and let him
Exactly.
go, right?
And this is clearly the mark of a time where, because the things he's saying were meant to be the extreme jokes, because we know people that are of this political background.
He's a
So
caricature,
clearly,
right?
yeah, he's a caricature. The people we know aren't this far into what they believe like that.
And now
They're
they are.
people. We just disagree about money and how to handle things, but we're still going to help you out because you're still a person. But yeah, exactly. Now it's, oh my God, you are just this way.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? That if you
Yeah.
made this movie today, I have a feeling the ending would be a lot different. They'd put him in drag, and then they would do a reveal on stage and let the paparazzi have at it.
Mm.
And they probably wouldn't give the little bit of pathos that they gave to the senator
Exactly.
in a remake version of it, you know? Yeah. I don't know. It's a movie that feels, timeless, and also you could remake it, but should you? Like,
Right.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No,
Yeah.
no, I agree. I don't think you should.
No, when one of the details is a senator died by post coitus with an African American sex worker, it's like
Underage
an
sex
underage
worker.
African American sex worker, and I said that in the most polite way I could. Like,
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
maybe we should drop this one.
Yeah, I was as soon as that popped up, I was like, oh, I forgot this from when I watched this 5 years ago. Bo isn't gonna like this.
No, I could look past it, right? Because like you were saying earlier,
Yeah.
it's important for us to watch these kind of movies
Mhm.
within the time. Even if we talk about it with modern current sensibilities, right? It's
Sure.
important to view it in the context in which it was written. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do love though it hasn't changed when they're like at the beginning of the movie they're at breakfast they're watching his like debate thing that he was on the night before and they're just
Yeah.
talking heads screaming at one another at a table and
Yeah.
his wife just goes, "This is great television."
It's the most intelligent
so
show
good.
on TV. I just want to mention that it's funny to me that like last summer around this time we were talking about Some Like It Hot and we're talking about the Birdcage now and I'm just like, all right, so we're probably going to get to a movie a year from now that's probably a bit more accurate to the experience of drag. It just seems to be on the calendar that we're
Oh,
on right now.
I was going in a completely different mental direction. I was like, and then we're gonna talk about Rent.
No, I'm ending the
No.
episode. Go fuck yourself. That has
No.
been
No.
this episode
Oh,
of the. No,
okay.
you're done. You ruined it. You ruined it for everyone.
All right.
That has been this episode of the Liberal Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Follow us on our Seacher? Jesus, I can't talk anymore. Rent made me angry. Follow us on our social media channels. We're on Instagram. We're on fucking Twitter. We'll see how long that lasts. At LibArtistPod.
Still going strong, baby.
Join us next time when we absolutely roast Kaylie for liking Rent.
I don't.
Too
Too
late.
late.
I'll make it sound like you do.
I like Rent. Damn it!
Peace.
The Liberal Artists Podcast premieres every other Thursday on your favorite podcasting platform. The show is hosted by Bodio, Kaylie Horowitz, and Andy Gibson. You can find the show at LibArtistsPod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to White Hot for performing the theme song Reflect, which can be found on freebeats.io. Now, I'm off to go exploring, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find a sheep that I can call my own. Good day.
Rent sucks.
Rent's awful.
The
Rent's
best
a
Jonathan
bad
Larson
play
musical
movie.
is Tick Tick Boom.
Tick, tick, boom.
Yeah, and it's just about him writing or like leading up to writing Rent. Like that, it's not even Rent.
I just think it's funny that you like Rent.
Don't. I
No,
hate
no, cut
Rent.
that part, Gibby.
525,000 ways Kaylie will embarrass her.
Are you done?
She likes Rent.